You know, I can't see all of you, and I don't know if you could see me as well, but don't make me cry. I will say, I've got two people in the audience, my two kids, Abe and Jesse, and what an honor to get that applause in front of my kids. So, hey, Abe and Jesse, you're the reason we're here. Welcome. I could not be more delighted to welcome you to our dinner, and thank you to Peggy and to Andrew. Andrew, you said a lot of things, and I want to not only thank you for your vision, but I want to say I'm with you. We are making progress on our sustainability journey, but unsurprising to anyone in this room who knows I am never satisfied, we have some pretty daunting challenges ahead, and that is the message for tonight. We are making progress, but we got a ways to go. But we also have some great leaders who give me hope. Amongst those leaders are our honorees this evening, my dear friend Christiana Figueres, who led the international negotiations that resulted in the Paris Agreement. We wish she could be with us tonight. Christiana's brother died 3 days ago. She had just gotten to the United States. She text messaged me or WhatsApp me. I was like, where is this message coming from? But that was her way of reaching me to let me know that she was returning to Costa Rica. That on top of another brother dying a mere 3 weeks ago. Our hearts truly are with Christiana. She is a force of nature and only interested in doing what's right for our future. And to Tim Cook, how great to get to spend the evening with you. Thank you so much for being here. And Tim, thank you for showing the world what corporate sustainability leadership looks like. You've staked out positions. It's been not only not bad for your business, you have showed you could run a successful business and do what's right at the same time. We could not be more grateful. And finally, a heartfelt thanks to my board of directors. Ceres Board of Directors has an extraordinary group of leaders who have committed to building a sustainable future. To our President's Council, who are here in force advising us on policy and programs, and to the colleagues I get to work with every day. And then finally, to the investors and companies in this room with whom we are on this journey. This is not an easy journey, but somehow we've built respect and friendship as we push you hard and try and find the way to get to yes. Tonight's a special night for Ceres, and we're celebrating, not my great strength, but we're celebrating together the progress we have made in changing and in disrupting business as usual. Some of you might remember that 30 years ago, Ceres was born out of a crisis. An Exxon tanker spilled 11 million gallons of oil into the Prince William Sound, the worst oil spill in the history of the United States. And that spill inspired a small group of investors and environmentalists to envision a different way for corporations to behave. They believed that companies had a responsibility to conduct business in a more environmentally and socially responsible way, and that by doing so, they would build stronger businesses and a better future. And in response, they hatched up this social experiment we now call Ceres, bringing together investors and environmentalists to work with companies to change business as usual. And Ceres went on to craft a groundbreaking code of corporate conduct, and then launched what is now the Global Reporting Initiative, which is now the most widely adopted system of sustainability reporting used by 14,000 global companies. These achievements laid the foundation for the business sustainability movement that is now finally mainstream. We are making progress. We need to celebrate that. We are making progress in transforming the economy to one in which the risks and the opportunities of the climate crisis, of water shortages and human rights abuses are being built into our economic business models and decisions, and showing that acting on them creates opportunities that lead to stronger returns and better performance, and oh yes, to a safer world. 30 years ago, many in the business community and the financial community thought we were way out of line asking them to consider issues like the ones we're talking about today. But tonight, we're seeing sustainability as part of our financial lexicon, and pension fund leaders and investment banks, credit rating agencies, stock exchanges are starting to act, acting because there is a direct line to their financial performance. But they need to do more, and we need to do more. Andrew said nearly 200 CEOs just announced their belief that corporations have to create value not only for their shareholders, but also for their employees and their customers and their suppliers. That is an amazing step, and that is progress. But they need to turn those words into actions. For now, it's a good start. And just last week, a specialty insurance company adopted a new policy ending insurance for new coal and tar sands projects, joining 16 other insurers who have ended coal insurance. Factoring sustainability into investment and business decisions is simply no longer a foreign concept. From investing in low-carbon enterprises to influencing portfolio companies to improving their own climate disclosures and practices, investors are stepping up. And corporate giants are now powering their operations with 100% renewable energy. They're committing to science-based targets, and they are setting high standards for their suppliers. And global meat producers, I know you're not thinking about this, are reducing water use, and fast food companies are racing to beat each other in developing the best meatless burger. And you'll see there's no meat on the menu tonight. And more than 1 million electric cars are now on US roadways. The US green economy is now generating 9.5 million jobs and $1.3 trillion in sales every year. That's 7% of the country's GDP. All good, right? But despite this, change is not happening fast enough. The world is warming quicker than we can act. Greenhouse gas emissions are at a record high. Ice sheets in Greenland and Antarctica are melting, and our forests are disappearing right before our eyes. And the social impacts of climate change, from intensified heat waves, from droughts and sea level rise, are inexorable and affect the poorest and the weakest first. And even more troubling, all of this is happening as we face unprecedented political hurdles. And I promise no more on politics. I joined Ceres because I believe that Ceres' unique model for change to galvanize the private sector was and still is one of the most important levers to reverse this trajectory. Following my years as a regulator, this was the right place. And through the Ceres roadmap for sustainability, we defined best practice and what it looks like to be a real sustainability leader, integrating these issues from the boardroom to the supply chain. And we work with and helped hundreds of companies set and meet sustainability goals. From reducing emissions to strengthening disclosures to improving governance, these actions have not only helped build resiliency, but they have set these companies apart from their peers. And together, we have made climate risk an accepted concept, and now water risk must follow. This just wasn't the case 15 years ago. We even successfully petitioned the SEC to issue guidance mandating the disclosure of these risks. Not being implemented these days, but it's there on the books. And we now work with literally 350 global investors managing $35 trillion in assets. That's trillion with a T. $35 trillion in assets to bring the world's largest greenhouse gas emitters in line with the Paris Agreement. Those investors are calling on companies who are responsible for 2/3 of global emissions, to put targets in place and to act on climate. You know, I wish I could stop right now and say, that's a lot of good stuff, right? Great job, relax, go enjoy your meatless dinner. But I can't. We can't. Our current efforts are still falling short. Scientists now warn we need to limit our planet from temperature rise to 1.5 degrees in order to avoid the worst impacts of the climate crisis, and we need to act in the next decade, and not wait 10 years, to act now. Inaction is not an option. It could mean entire areas, counties, cities, will be inundated by rising seas, and it's happening already. And it could mean we lose millions more lives to heat, to flooding, or to hunger. Or history could repeat itself, and it can take us back to what we faced in our economic markets in 2008, because this is a financial risk as well. We know, and the fact that all of you are here, you know, this is the challenge of our lifetime. And we know that what we are presently poised to deliver, a future, and that future for our kids is unacceptable. It will not be what we could consider bearable if we don't act. I am convinced together we can turn things around, that it is doable, that we can build an economy that values our ecosystems and preserves humanity as we know it. But we need to change the present course. We need to change the rules and the regulations. Incremental change, company by company, investor by investor, state by state, no longer cuts it. We need wholesale and major action. To truly get us there, to a just and a sustainable future, we have to accelerate our work. That's why tonight, I'm proud to announce the launch of our brand new center, the Ceres Accelerator for Sustainable Capital Markets. Our vision for this new center is bold and broad. We will ramp up our efforts to move capital market influencers, such as financial regulators, banks, asset owners, to recognize fully that climate change as the systemic financial risk that it is. From the Federal Reserve Board, to the SEC, to the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, to insurance regulators, climate risk must be factored into their regulations, affirming the impact of climate on the world's financial markets and assuring that the risk is priced into market evaluations. It is simply hard to expect companies to change if the systems around them stand for the status quo. So the rules of the game have to change. And through the Ceres Accelerator, we will work with the largest asset owners, many of whom are in this room, to transition their vast portfolios to net zero emissions by 2050. And we'll work to create honest market signals as well. Putting a price on carbon will provide a critical signal that the high cost of pollution must be a part of any capital market decision. It is quite clear we need incentives that discourage dirty, high-carbon investments and reward cleaner ones. And we also need alignment between what companies say and what they lobby for on Capitol Hill. The days when companies support climate policies out of their public relations office and then support their trade associations working against these very same policies must come to an end. You know, the next few years are critical. They are absolutely critical. We do not have another 30 years to get this right, not close. The World Economic Forum said at their convening last year, we are sleepwalking into catastrophe. We need to not sleepwalk into catastrophe. The change will not be easy. We need to change every sector of our economy, but we can do it. We have to do that. Consider the power that's in this room in your hands. Consider your reach, your influence, your resources, your networks, and your capacity to innovate. And consider the millions of young people like 16-year-old Greta Thunberg who are speaking up and demanding a fair shot at a future. How do we deny them that? How do we look at our kids? We don't. We cannot deny them that. We need to be the leaders that our kids want us to be and that the world needs us to be. And we need to double down and act as if a bus were coming at our kids, because it is. And we need to jump in front of that bus and change the course of history. This is the legacy that I know is as important to every single person in this room. It is true we have accomplished much together, and we should be proud, but not nearly enough. We need each of you, all 500 of you, reared up and ready to go. We can do this. We have to do this. My two kids, Abe and Jesse, in the back of the room, they will call me on it if we don't do that. I have to be able to tell them, and you have to be able to tell your kids, we will do this. We are on it. So with this in mind, tonight, we raise a glass to celebrate to each of you. And tomorrow, full of hope, we will get back to changing the world, and with your force, this time, we'll make it happen. Thank you, and thank you so much for being here.